In this video, you will learn all about sticker contract tools, as well as about modifiers that will only make them better. We are talking about the DRC, and we are starting. Before that, let's evaluate the cool commentators who tried and wrote letters. Thank you, dear ones, I appreciate it. Thanks to past guides, you already know how to make primitive tools with the help of a part shaper and a foundry station. In addition, you already know how to make reusable lithium molds and, accordingly, metal parts. So now we're going to talk about new types of tools that you can make tastier. If you did not understand something from what I said earlier, then look at the previous guides, links to them will be in the description. The forge has a lot of recipes, mostly it is a burnt brick and 3 blocks of some metal on top. If possible, immediately switch from the foundry station to the forge, because in it you can create new tools and there are more slots for installing complex modifiers. The first tool, or rather weapon, is a sword. He has an average attack speed and average damage. Actually, he doesn't have any more features. Next comes the dagger. It has little damage when compared to a sword, but it allows you to make quick attacks. Also, the dagger is a paired weapon if you put it in the slot of the second hand, and you can, by pressing the right mouse button in the left, strike with 2 hands. The next tool is called comma. She can plow the land, she can also cut various animals, extract grass and foliage. Comma can also harvest and plant seeds. Next comes the axe. The axe has a lot of damage, it can be used as a weapon, it also quickly extracts foliage, can cut wood and also cut it effectively. Pickaxe. Picks have little damage, but there is a piercing effect that deals additional damage to armored targets. Pickaxe hoe. This tool will allow you to quickly dig up the ground and, in principle, everything that a shovel digs. She can also make trails, and it's not bad to chop down a tree like that. Unfortunately, the pick hoe does not break blocks well, which the pickaxe can get, and hitting the enemy with these tools will throw him further than usual. The cleaver is a very powerful weapon with a lot of damage, but its impact is very slow. The cleaver also has a built-in second-level clipping ability so that you can get heads more easily. The digger. In fact, this is a very large shovel, which has a 3x3 area of action. Also, when you right-click, it will create trails near you, and the digger throws very far away on impact. A vein axe will allow you to dig out the entire vein of one particular block. But be careful, its effect is unpredictable, I do not advise using it at home. It also deals additional damage to armored targets. The next tool is a hammer. Its peculiarity is that it can dig in an area of 3x3. It also deals additional damage to all undead due to the Kara effect. The scythe. It will allow you to quickly destroy any vegetation and foliage in the area of 3x3x3. Also, by right-clicking the mouse, the scythe can easily plow the nearest land in the 3x3 area, and right-clicking on the plants will quickly harvest. And the scythe has a very large area of attack. A broad-bladed axe will allow you to completely cut a tree with a right-click or cut it down entirely. And she has a lot of damage. Tinker contract, if a special lighter, and it is called a bronze flint. In addition to the usual purpose, this lighter will always set fire to the victim on impact. To create it, you will need a flint and a cast bronze ingot. Speaking of tools, you need to touch on modifications. I must say right away, there are a lot of them here, so we will try to break them into groups for a simpler understanding. I propose the following scheme. All modifiers can be divided into features, skills and improvements. Improvements, in turn, can be ordinary, or without slots. If you place an item in one of these blocks and hover over it with a clamped shift, you will find 2 parameters, improvements and skills. The same thing, only it is written in more detail on the right if you scroll down a little. The improvement and skill parameters show how many upgrades you can install on your instrument. Some materials may have more slots available, while others may have fewer. Despite the fact that the type of tool was the same, certain materials have their own characteristics that give one or another effect. It is useless to list them, because with the addition of new modifications, new materials are added. Therefore, I advise you to make books from the Tinker Contract mod and read the materials section of the first, second, third or fourth level in them. Next, we will talk with you about the skills that radically change the essence of the principle of operation of your tool, so you cannot put so many of them. The first skill is luck, and it is needed in order to increase the number of shit, mobs and experience drops. Luck has only 3 levels of improvement, the first, second and third. Accordingly, everyone has their own craft, and the crafting goes sequentially, that is, until you do the first one, you will not be able to move on to the second one. It's the same with the third one, until you make the second one. Recipes for the first level of pumping are 2 lapis lazuli blocks, 2 copper ingots, a blue orchid, or you can use a blue cornflower instead. For the second level, you will need to have the first and, respectively, 2 enter pearls, 2 gold bars and a golden carrot. And for the third you will need a tag, a diamond, 2 pink gold bars and a rabbit's foot. To get a rabbit's foot, you have to soak the rabbit with a tool that has a clipping effect. The easiest option is to use a cleaver. Now I'll show you in an accelerated version. First we create the first enchantment, we pump it with the second and do the same in the third. It is also interesting that the enchantment of luck is in fact a prey. It can be applied to weapons, and even to armor, but more on that later. The next skill is Silk Touch. It will allow you to mine blocks in their original state. To craft it, you will need 5 units of silk fabric, which is made from a rose gold ingot lined with threads. You can also enchant weapons, and a silk touch on these weapons will allow you to cut animal fur. Right click of the mouse. The next skill is a pair of weapons that will allow you to use 2 hands at once, as it was with daggers. You will need 2 monoline ingots, 1 nautilus shell and 2 clots of heavenly slime. In addition, this skill has some features, for example, the tool that you pump with this skill will have less characteristics compared to an unimproved one. Also, I think you can use 2 tools at once, but nothing like that, the left hand will only be used as a weapon. There are also nuances with 2-handed tools, you will not be able to apply this skill just like that, you first need to prepare it with the help of another improvement. And 2-handed tools are considered to be a digger, a wide-bladed axe, a hammer, a vane axe, a scythe and the cleaver itself. The next skill is called Reach. It will increase the distance of destruction of blocks with your tool and can additionally be worn on armor, further increase the distance, but it will not work with weapons. For this improvement, you will need 2 pistons, an ingot of royal slime and 2 clots of ender slime. The next skill is called Remelting. A tool with this skill will be able to melt blocks when they are destroyed, turning them immediately into a liquid that can then be poured out. And hitting mobs, you will also get liquids from them. And liquids are poured out by right-clicking on the tank. And here is the recipe for this skill. 2 buckets of lava, 2 rods of freet and a fired melting furnace. Pouring. For this skill, you will need a burnt liquid tank, 2 burnt channels and 2 copper ingots. Now liquid can be stored in your instrument and it will be consumed when hitting some living entity, imposing an additional effect, a crown. Pay attention to the fiery particles. A more illustrative example, we pour water into the pickaxe and right now we will call the merchant, now we set him on fire and with a pickaxe, if we hit him now, he will be instantly extinguished. And this can be done with any liquid, even from mods. If milk is poured into the stinker's armor, it will remove negative effects when hitting you. Autoclaving. For it, you will need 2 copper ingots, a melting furnace and 2 coal blocks. Also, instead of 2 copper ingots, you can use burnt bricks or some other ingots. Let's look now at the effect in the work. In fact, you will melt the blocks during their extraction, as if you did it in the oven. These effects also apply to mobs if you kill them with this tool. Skill exchange. You will need 2 ender pearls, 2 sticky pistons and a hypozone ingot. This skill will allow you to replace them with those in your left hand when mining blocks. But if you take the wrong tool and try to get the block that it can't, you won't succeed. Therefore, you need to take the right tool on which this skill will stand. Extension. For it, you will need a lithium bronze ingot, 2 pistons and 2 clots and choruses. This is the ability to increase the digging area of each tool, as well as its special abilities, which are pressed on the right mouse button. Unfortunately, this skill doesn't work with weapons. The next skill is called a bucket. You will need 2 burnt taps, 2 ender pearls and 1 bucket. With this skill, you will be able to transfer liquids or pour them by sitting down and clicking the right mouse button, collecting and also pouring out some inventory. Set it on fire. For this skill, you will need a flint and a cobalt ingot. Let's pump our tool, take it in our hands and actually, by right-clicking you will create a fire source. For each creation of fire, you will consume 1 unit of strength of your tool. Glow. For this skill, you will need a light stone, a daylight sensor and a mushroom light. Let's pump our tool and turn off the light. By clicking the right mouse button, you will create such light sources that will consume 10 units of strength of your instrument. You can then break these light sources and actually darken the territory back. Hello, we have 3 very similar skills. The first is the laying of trails. For it, you will need a pickaxe head, no matter what kind of material, a cobalt ingot and an axe head. Then we have the shearing. For cutting, you need an axe head, also a cobalt ingot and absolutely any mount. And then we have plowing. For plowing, you will need a small blade, also made of any material, a cobalt ingot and also any mount. I put my own skill on each of the 3 hammers. The first one plows, the third makes trails and, accordingly, the third hammer cuts us. And both actions will be the same as the tool that you pumped. We still have the last skill for tools, but I suggest we postpone the story about it, because it is closely related to improvements and until you understand them, you will not be able to do it. Next we will talk about improvement. Improvement does not change the principle of operation of the tool, as a skill, but it is enhanced. The first 3 improvements are the improvement of materials, emerald, diamond and nerite. We'll start with the diamond. The easiest way to show this is on a weak instrument. Please note that the strength has increased by 500 units, the digging level from wooden to diamond has added 1 unit of damage. The emerald is slightly weaker, it increases the digging level to iron and increases the strength as a percentage, namely by 50%. That is, initially we had 60, half is 30 and 60 plus 30 equals 90. Also, the improvement of the emerald gives additional damage, namely 2.5 units for malicious pillagers. Also, the emerald diamond can be used on armor, but the diamond will be half as weak, it will give less units of strength, namely, not 500, but 250, but gives 1 additional unit of armor. Next, we will talk about the improvement with a non-jade ingot, but note that this improvement requires that your tool has already been improved with a diamond or an emerald. In our case, it will be a diamond. And actually, what will this improvement give? 20% of the original strength, the level of production will increase to Nezrit, you will also receive an additional 10% damage, the same 10% will increase the speed of digging. And after pumping the armor and for the rhythm, in addition to additional strength, you will get 1 unit of additional hardness and 0.5 to the protection from dropping. And yes, the tools that you have pumped unseen will not burn in the fire, which is very convenient. For the next improvement, you will need 3 experience bubbles and this is called an experienced improvement. This improvement will increase the experience gained for killing mobs and destroying blocks. The maximum level of this improvement is the 5th and it is the most effective. You can also pump the contract stinker pants with this improvement and this improvement will affect all the tools that you use, that is, you will not have to pump them. Improvement of the fuse. You will need a cobalt ingot and a flint. This is the area of action of the usual bronze fire, and this is pumped. Actually, that's what this improvement does, it increases the area of action. Magnetism. For this improvement you will need a compass. We will scatter some blocks and take the tool pumped by magnetism in our hand and nothing happens. And all because you have to break some block next to them and then they will attract. The maximum level of yes to improvements is the 5th. Each level will increase the speed of objects approaching you and the area of action. The next improvement is called one-handed. For it, you will need a skin, a phantom membrane, a clot and a chorus. I have a broad-bladed axe in my hands, I press the right mouse button and I cut this tree. If we make this improvement, throw something in the left hand, then we will not be able to use the ability in objects when clicking on the right mouse button. In some cases, this can be useful. Also, from any two-handed tool, you can make a one-handed one and further prepare it for the use of the skill that the paired weapon told about. Improved soul connection. For him, you only need 1 totem of immortality. If you somehow die, then this improvement will keep the item in your inventory, it will not drop out after death. The next improvement is called a reservoir. To create it, you will need one of these tanks. This is a fuel gauge. Burnt or liquid tank. With this improvement, your item can keep 1,152 millibucks of liquid, which is equal to 8 ingots. The maximum level of improvement is the 5th and, accordingly, the capacities will be summed up. I recommend using this improvement with the skills that I have already told you about. Thus, you will increase the capacity even more. Strengthening. For it, you will need 24 such iron fortifications. Let's see their recipe. Actually, that's how it is. For it, you will need 3 pieces of molten iron and, accordingly, they need to fill the obsidian panel. And the obsidian panel, respectively, is made by melting obsidian and pouring the casting table with this obsidian. This improvement reduces the likelihood that your tool will lose strength when used. And this improvement has 5 levels of strength. For example, at the first level, the probability that he will receive damage is 75%, at the second, 55, at the third 40, at the fourth 30 and at the fifth 25. And now I'll tell you about that most secret last skill. We already have enough knowledge. And this skill is called indestructibility. To create it, you will need a tool that has at least 7 improvement slots. Next, you will need a shulker shell, dragon breath and a non-jade ingot in the amount of 2 pieces. In addition to all this, your tool must have a strengthening of the 5th level and is not pumped with a zarite ingot. And in order to pump on zarite, your instrument must first be pumped with either an emerald or a diamond. And actually, you will get a tool that will never break. The process of creating this skill is very time-consuming. Think about it, is it worth it? The improvement is overloaded. For it, you will need to strengthen the slime of steel. This reinforcement is made of an obsidian panel, which is filled with molten slime steel. After pumping the tool with this improvement, you will find the overloaded 1 parameter on it. This parameter adds a slug coating to your instrument. By the way, this tool that I pumped, initially already had 200 units of slug coating, because it was made of slug material. And in the end, he summed up, giving us 275. Note that the tool now has a blue strength stripe under it. This is a slug coating. Now we have 245 out of 275, this figure is constantly growing. This is because of the features of the tool. Let's break some block, in our case it's iron blocks and another batch. And instead of strength, we will spend just units of this slug coating, becoming a little smaller. And the tool itself is not damaged. Now I will tell you how to replenish this slug coating. Option 1. Use tools that have parts made of the slug tree material, because each of these materials gives such a parameter, overgrown. The tool is slowly overgrown with mucus, and therefore the slug coating will automatically regenerate itself over time. Or the second option. Traveling around the world you will find slug islands and most likely kill slugs. From them you will get this kind of mucus. Or you will get it from the blocks. If this slime is fried, then you will get slug crystals. Actually, these slug crystals will allow you to restore the supply of slug coating inside the tool. Just combine the tool with a slug crystal and you will notice that the slug coating will be replenished. I also noticed a small tank. If you pump a tool that did not initially have a slug coating, it will be pumped, but it will not be displayed. That is, you will not have a slug coating shown in the properties of this item. But if you somehow replenish this slug coating, it will start to display. And yes, for 24 strengthening of slime steel, you will receive an additional 75 units of slug coating. The maximum level that you can achieve in this improvement is the 5th. Improving the burning will give your instrument an arson effect on impact. You will only need 25 fire powder and this is an improvement of 5 leveling levels, each of which will increase the duration of Garenge by 5 seconds. Improved discarding. When hitting with a tool with this improvement, your target will fly a little further than usual. You will only need a piston of some of the slime blocks to create it. Also, this upgrade has 5 leveling levels and for each of the levels you will increase the drop range by 2 blocks. Improving necrotically essentially adds vampirism to your attacks with a certain probability. But not all the damage done will go into your health, but only a part of it. For this improvement, you will need clotted blood, the rose of the viscera, if for Gasta. There are only 5 leveling levels and each level adds a 5% chance of an effect appearing. Clipping is the next improvement that will allow you to chop off your heads and other body parts, if possible on the principle of a cleaver. You will need 2 necrotic bones, a copper ingot and dynamite, and the clipping effect will be applied to the tool. In total, you can apply up to 5 levels of this effect, and each of them increases the probability of cutting off a head or other limb by 5%. And this improvement is combined with a cleaver, which initially already has 2 levels of clipping when it is created. Luck also affects this improvement, adds an additional 5% for each level of luck. In general, the total chance of chopping off is doubled if you try to do it with a rare mob or boss. Improvements are sticky or sticky. This improvement will slow down your target if you hit it for a second and a half. To create you will need 5 webs. In total, this improvement has 3 levels and for each new level, 1 additional second of deceleration is added. The Smashing Blade upgrade, which increases the damage from your smashing attack. You will need 25 chains per level. There are only 4 leveling levels, for each of which you receive 25% of additional striking damage. That is, in total, you can increase the striking damage by 100%. Anti-Evatic. This upgrade will allow you to deal more damage with a sea mob. You will need 20 blowfish to create it. Improvement 5 levels of leveling. For each level, you get 2.5 additional damage against sea mobs. That is, you can get 12.5 damage as much as possible. Peach, Shishisha, or all arthropods, a funny name. The upgrade will allow you to deal additional damage to creeper and arthropods. It will take 15 pickled spider eyes and in total you can improve up to 5 times your tool, receiving 2.5 damage for each level. Also hitting the named creatures, you will slow them down a little. The level of pumping increases the duration of deceleration. Cooling. This upgrade deals an additional 2 damage per level on mobs that are immune to fire. You will need 25 prismarine crystals and, accordingly, the maximum level is the 5th improvement. Piercing enhancement deals up to of damage to armored targets. It will take 25 cactus blocks, the maximum level of improvement is the 5th, but for each level you have pumped, the main damage will decrease by 0.5 units, instead of giving 1 piercing unit. Sharpness improvement simply increases the main damage of your tool or weapon. You will need nether quartz in the amount of 36 pieces. In total, you can improve your tool 5 times and get 5 additional damage. Kara, this upgrade will add 2.5 extra damage against any undead. For it, you will need 5 sparkling watermelons, and in fact, you can improve your tool up to 5 times, receiving a maximum of 12.5 damage. Against the undead. Explosive. This improvement gives additional mining speed for the blocks that you break. The lower the soundness of these blocks, the faster you will break them. You will need 20 gunpowder and, accordingly, you can pump the tool up to 5 Razani Rush for it will need 45 redstone and, accordingly, the maximum level is an improvement of 5. For each of these levels, you will receive a 5% increase in mining speed and a 5% increase in attack speed. Improvement hydraulically, increase the speed of extraction underwater of any tools, as well as increase the speed of extraction during when it rains. You will need 9 blocks of prismarine, and you can improve your instrument up to 5 times. And for 1 level you get 8 speeds underwater and 4 in the rain. Improve the speed of light. Increase the mining speed of various blocks, depending on how illuminated they are. You will need 16 stone colors and accordingly you can improve your tool up to 5 times to these improvements. Next, I will tell you about the slot-free improvement and how to add additional skill slots and improvements. If you get a dragon's head and combine it with some tool or armor, you will get 1 additional skill slot. Actually, this is all that the dragon's head does. You can also take one of the following items to add an additional upgrade point slot. For example, any of the plates, any head, except of course the dragon's head, the crystal end and a book with a pen. Pay attention to the number of improvements and after pumping we will have 4 and so on with each ingredient. You can use the dragon's head, as well as additional slots for improvements, only once. Using a regular golden apple, you can exchange 1 skill point for 2 upgrade points. Please note that we have become 9 and now we have become 11. The improvement is brilliant. For it, you will need an enchanted golden apple. And if you improve your instrument with these improvements, it will gain luster. Connection with the world. It will require a non-ferrite scrap. Having pumped your tool with a non-ferrite scrap, it will get resistance to various damages. Here is an ordinary pickaxe, and here is a pickaxe with this improvement. I throw out the first one first. Please note that if I threw it into a cactus, it was immediately destroyed. If we throw out a pumped pickaxe, then it does not collapse from the cactus. Also, the object will not be destroyed if you throw it into lava or just throw it into some kind of fire source. In fact, it acquired the properties of non-ferrite instruments. Finally, you can also remove the improvement from your instrument. Take a wet sponge and connect it to the object. Please note that only improvements were removed, the effect of the skills remained, namely silky. And Enderka was with you. Thanks for watching and bye.